I'm Haze Hartwig. This is Bamboo, Vancouver's property management and investment podcast. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the show. This week we have Tirajeh. She's one part. I guess you have like 6 members of your team. The
Correct.
elite
Yeah.
team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So good. So because the show is more geared towards investment and stuff like that, give us a little bit of background about you, for instance. How long you've been in the real estate? Obviously, you're second generation.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm multi-generational myself. So, we all try to avoid it, but we always end up there.
100%. Well, my background's actually in mechanical engineering. I studied system controls and hydraulics at UBC.
Wow.
So I was one of the first females that was actually hired at a corporate office at Goldcorp in downtown Vancouver out of school for engineering. And then after working there for a little bit, I realized that I hated the 9 to 5 so badly. It just wasn't for me at all. I was bored at my desk falling asleep, and I felt that I was just growing someone else's business and brand, and I couldn't make a name for myself in the industry. So I thought to myself, why not give real estate a try? And went all the way to start from the bottom all over again. And I started off at the bottom as an assistant to Marjan, who is my mom. I am second generation, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I learned everything from the bottom, growing my way to the top. And finally, after a year, I said, you know what? I want to try this on my own. And once I did, I grew my platform off social media, and I went from 0 followers to a huge following of over 100,000 people now on Instagram.
Look at you, big star.
And and I've been rated the #1 realtor on social media in all of British Columbia and in Vancouver for the past 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I did not know that.
But thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. So it's been a great long journey, 7 years now in the business full time. And I grew my own team, my own brand. So Elite Team is my team that I have with great agents on it. And we do everything from pre-sale to resale. And I do actually specialize a lot in working with investors.
Good.
So I do know a lot about what they're looking for. And I think investors look for different things in different types of markets. Right now, the market, as we're noticing, has definitely slowed down a lot since the interest rates have gone up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tremendously.
Right? I've noticed that same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And because of that, it's difficult for a lot of people to be able to get approval for their mortgages.
Yeah.
So things that are slowed down a lot are things in the luxury category. Now, luxury can be defined in different ways. Within the condo market for condominiums and apartments, luxury would be anything, let's say, that's above the 1.5 kind of price range. Okay. So things that are below $1 million are still moving relatively quickly, depending on the building and the area and what it really is. Yeah. For townhomes, things that are below 1.2 million are still also selling. So the things that are 1.5 and above, again, for townhomes, those are the ones that are slower. Absolutely. And for houses, things that are below 2 million are moving really quickly. So we're even seeing multiple offers happening in today's market for those ones.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but because people who actually can afford the $2 million mortgage, they want to be able to get that house and get it for a good deal. So the people who were approved for mortgages that were at, let's say, 1.5%, 2%, 3% a couple years back at a variable rate, now they're at a mortgage rate that's variable at 6, 7, exactly. And they can't afford those mortgage payments anymore. It's just not realistic for them. So for that reason, a lot of those sellers are desperate now. They have to sell. So buyers are finding good deals. Yeah. So in today's market, I would say it's twofold. Either go, if you have cash in hand and you can afford those mortgage payments, then put a bigger down payment if you can. But if not, and you can afford the mortgage payments, then go and find those good deals. Because a lot of people, they're selling and they're desperate to sell. So find yourself a realtor who can go negotiate on your behalf and find you those good deals. The second thing I would recommend is go after the pre-sales that are coming into the market as a first round sale. Now, what I mean by first round sale is that pre-sales work in tiered levels. Always the developer, in order to get their own financing for construction, they have to sell out usually around 50% of their building in pre-sale to get their own building financing approved and get their mortgage. Yeah. For that reason, they always set the very first 20% of their building at the lowest price. A lot of realtors don't even know this. A lot of buyers especially don't know this. Yeah. So when I say first access in the first round, I mean, make sure you're getting yourself into these pre-sales that are selling in that first 20% round, because after for 20%, they do a price increase. The next 20 to 30%, another price increase. 30 to 50%, another price increase. So whoever's buying in that first round is buying at an extremely good price point, and they're going to be looking at an instant profit. So if you can buy at a pre-sale that's also with a reputable developer, and you also should be comparing them to today's pricing. So if this pre-sale completes in 3 to 5 years time from now, let's say, you want to be buying at a market value rate that's kind of equivalent to what we could buy in today's market. If you can find yourself a pre-sale that is selling at today's market value where interest rates are high, so prices have dropped, and you're getting in that first round, that first 20%, then you're going to be looking at a great profit margin in 3 years to 5 years time from now when this pre-sale completes.
Absolutely.
On top of that, we're expecting that rates are going to adjust and come down a little bit by that 3 to 5 year mark as well. So you're going to be owning something brand new at a much better rate. It's not going to be today's rates anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the warranty as well, right? Like
100%,
10 years of basically not dealing with anything.
Like 2, 5, 10-year warranty.
Good, right?
It's beautiful.
Right?
Absolutely. So why not? It depends on your financial situation. And for every client, I tell them, let's do a sit down together, analyze your financial situation, and I help them to plan out what's going to be most beneficial for them to do. You need someone that can set you a 2, 5, 10-year plan for yourself. So you tell me that, for example, I want to be able to own 3 properties that are mortgage free in the next 10 years. How can I do that? I'll sit down with you and I'll tell you, okay, we can do this, this, and this. Maybe we can get you 5 that properties instead of 3. Who knows? So these are things that you have to sit down with an agent who's experienced and be able to do that.
Absolutely. Now, you were speaking with about investors. Obviously, if someone is buying a pre-sale, that's not going to cover the net, i.e. the rent ain't going to cover the mortgage, the strata fees, and so on and so forth. So as far as doing investing, do you think it's better to go with pre-sale or resale, i.e. one that already exists, turnkey? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Is there a plus? I mean, I'm sure there's a plus and minus for both, but what would you suggest is the best way for the person who's trying to get in there, who's trying to build the empire, as it will?
100%. Again, I'll say that it really depends on your financial situation. If you're a first-time home buyer and you have a smaller down payment saved, then it might be tough for you to be able to qualify for that mortgage. And on top of that, pay those monthly mortgage rates in today's market. When we're seeing 6, 7, sometimes 8% mortgage rates, that's really, really expensive. And a lot of people can't afford that. And it's very understandable if they can't. It's extremely high. So if someone comes to me and they tell me I have $100,000 saved, should I buy a pre-sale or should I buy a resale? I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, if you want to put down 20% of a down payment on something, this is what X in today's market is going to be your monthly mortgage payment. You'll be able to afford, let's say, $500,000 one-bedroom condo. If you want, you can afford that. These are going to be your monthly payments. Can you make that? Is that doable for you? If you want to rent it out, with today's mortgage rates, the rent most likely will not be covering that unless you have a larger down payment. But if you tell me that I have $100,000 saved and I can't afford those monthly mortgage payments, but I want to get into the market, I'll say, well, you know what? I think a pre-sale is a great investment idea for you right now because you don't have to pay those high rates. It'll give you 3 to 5 years time to also save more money. So once it does come to completion, you can put more money down so you bring your mortgage payments down. Or the beauty of it is, come completion time, you have the option to sell it before you have to apply for a mortgage as well. So you can sell it in something called an assignment of a contract, where essentially you're selling it from under your own name into somebody else's name. And a lot of times, if you've bought in that first round, you can sell it for a good profit. So I've helped clients get anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 profit flipping those condos in assignment for pre-sales. But it depends on the market and it depends on which stage you're buying in. So I would also reiterate, very, very important to make sure that you do your due diligence on that. Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you are running the risk as well of getting caught. For instance, we see a lot of people right now who did buy that pre-sale thinking that the rates are going to be 1%.
Exactly. And they're not.
6.
Exactly. And it's crazy. So that's why I would say I would have to have a sit down with whoever the client is, analyze their financial situation and go from there. If it was somebody that, let's say, had $300,000 saved up and they told me that I have this $300K, what can I buy? again, I would say if you're looking to put down only 20%, then this is going to be your mortgage payment. Can you afford that? If not, let's put a larger down payment for you, 30%, 40%, whatever is doable. And then your mortgage payments will come down lower. If you think that's doable for you, then let's do that. We obviously have a property management company in-house as well that I would tell them that we could rent it out for you for this rental value.
Yeah.
And this is if we can do the math, if it balances out, a lot of times you can even get a lot of nice pocket cash coming in as well. Again, it depends how much you put down and what your monthly rates come to.
Yeah.
So it's a very case-by-case dependent thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, with case-by-case, for people who are investing, do you suggest to go with a fixed-term mortgage or a variable mortgage rate? Which do you suggest is better, or do you have an opinion? And maybe even explain to our listeners, because I mean, some are more savvy, but some don't know the difference between a fixed and a variable. So can you touch in on that and maybe just touch in briefly on what the differences are and what would you suggest for a investor to get in?
Sure thing. Yeah. I will preface this by saying that I'm not a mortgage broker. I do work on the real estate side, but I can give some preliminary, at least, information about what the differences are and what I've been seeing that a lot of clients have been doing after they do consult with a mortgage specialist. The first step I always tell to clients who want to buy something that's move-in ready is get yourself pre-approved with that mortgage specialist. Yes. It's super important because someone might think they can afford $1 million place, but after talking to the bank with today's rates, they realize they can only afford $800 or $850. Yeah. And what you can buy for $850 is very different than $1 million. So first steps first, I would say 100% get yourself pre-approved or just talk to a mortgage specialist to know what your options are. Now, the difference between a fixed rate and a variable rate is that with a fixed rate, for example, the bank might tell you or your mortgage lender might tell you that I can get you a fixed rate today of, let's say, 6%, just as an example. At that 6% rate, it's going to be fixed regardless of if the Bank of Canada comes out and says tomorrow that rates are going up or rates are going down. It doesn't matter. Your rate's staying put. It's not going to change. Now, you can get that rate, that fixed rate, for a certain term, a certain period of time. So you can say that I want a fixed term for 6 months. I want a fixed term for a year. I want it for 2 years. I want it for 5 years. You can choose. And your rate's going to vary and differ based on how long it is. Typically, if we're going to be locking into a longer rate, you can maybe go and get a lower rate for yourself. It's longer term, Yeah. So some people say that I think that the rate might go up in the next year, but I think in 2 years' time, it's going to come down. So someone might say that I want a fixed term for a year, but I want to change that and it'll go to variable after that because I feel like the rates are going to come down. It'll be to my benefit. But if the rates go up in the next 6 months or a year, I'll be at least secure in this fixed rate. Yeah. So it's going to be, again, a case-by-case kind of situation where you're going to have to analyze that with both your realtor and your mortgage specialist, depending on what you're looking to do. Okay. If you want to, let's say, buy an investment property that's move-in ready and you want to hold it for, let's say, 2 years because you think in 2 years, prices are going to go up in value, and that's when you want to sell. Yeah. If you lock yourself into a 5-year rate, let's say it's a 5-year fixed term rate, if you decide that in 2 years, the market's really hot and you want to sell this property, if you break this mortgage term that you have, there are penalties that you're going to have to pay. So you have to be careful about that. Yeah. If you think that, okay, well, I want to buy an investment property, rent it out for a couple of years. I think in a couple of years, property value is going to go up and I'm going to want to sell this so I can upgrade my own living situation or flip it into another investment property or whatever it is. If you just think that you want to do that, I would recommend you could get, let's say, a fixed rate right now for 2 years. So you're secure. So if it does end up going back up higher, you have that rate secured for yourself. And then 2 years' time, once that term comes to the end, you can reanalyze if you want to then go get yourself a different type of rate, or if you want to sell your property, you'll have flexibility. It'll really depend, like I mentioned, your situation and what you're looking to do. If you want to hold on to a property for long term and we think that the market's at a peak for rates, the rates are not going to go up, which right now we're guessing from what we've been hearing from the Bank of Canada that the rates are not going to be going up higher. No one can guarantee that, though.
We didn't expect them to be this high.
No, exactly. We didn't expect them to come up this high as it is. So I never say for sure 100%, but we think that it's gotten to a point where it's not going to be going up much more. If anything, maybe a tiny bit, but not much more than this for sure.
Yeah.
And we predict that by close to fall, or about a year from now, but fall to winter of next year, they might start slowly inching down. Now, again, it depends on what happens to the market. Again, if we see that in January, February, prices start going up again, the government might decide to change their mind. So that's why it's good for you to analyze your own situation and decide what kind of rate, either fixed or variable, is going to be better for you. If you get variable right now and the rates go up, your mortgage payments are going to go up with that.
Yeah.
So if you lock yourself in, let's say you're getting a 6% rate right now, if the rates go up to 6.5 to 7, 7.5, that means your monthly mortgage payment is also going up by exactly that much.
Yeah.
But if they go down to 5% or 4.5 or 4, you're going to be saving a lot of money. So again, case by case situation.
And a little bit of risk tolerance almost.
Risk tolerance, exactly, 100% as well. That's why if you have a larger down payment saved, it's nicer to put more than 20% down for yourself, just so that your monthly payments are not going to be as high and it won't make it as difficult for you. Like I said, a lot of people bought in at 1.5% rates and they put 20% down. Right now, they're looking at 6-7% rates and they just can't afford it. They bought $2-3 million properties at 1.5%. Today at 6%, I mean, that's
a big hop.
Night and day. Yeah. It's over 5% more. It's just crazy.
So I guess that's where you're saying there's might be some deals to be had there if
exactly
if you're looking
you can find a good deal in today's market. Once prices do go up again, once interest rates come down, prices are definitely going to start shooting back up. So if you buy something in today's market for a really, really good deal, if next year or the year after the market shifts again, you're going to be looking at a great profit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, speaking with profits, we've gone out and looked at a few of the new builds. It seems like Coquitlam's doing a lot of stuff up there.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy over there.
Do you think that's one of the places to invest? Or like, what are a couple of your, you don't have to give away all your secrets, of course, but what do you think some of the good places to maybe investigate in? Because like Vancouver proper seems pretty damn expensive. So
it is.
Where are some other pockets that somebody should maybe consider poking around a little bit more?
Definitely.
What do you think?
So in Coquitlam Center, there is the first pre-sale tower going up. That is going to be the first pre-sale that's come to market in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So in the last 6 years, we've seen no new development. This is going to be the first of soon to be 40 new towers that are going to be going up there. So this one project that we know, this one pre-sale that we know right now, this one is going to be one of 2 towers by this developer. But I've talked to multiple other developers in the area. They're going to be bringing their projects in one after another. So 40 new proposed towers that are going to be going up in that area. They want to make it into the second downtown Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, and there's direct SkyTrain access as well to over there. I think it's a great area to invest in. The sooner you get in as well, the better, because once they sell out Tower 1, you better believe Tower 2 is going to be selling at a higher price. Then the next one at a higher price, the next one at a higher one. So whoever buys into that first group, they're going to be looking at the biggest profit margin, 100%.
Yeah.
Another great area is, so that's by Coquitlam Center. In West Coquitlam, by Fraser Mills area, that's another great area to invest in as well. There are 16 towers going up right by the waterfront over there.
Yeah.
It's the last waterfront community in Coquitlam. And it's going to be gorgeous. A lot of brand new developments going up there, commercial and residential. There's going to be a lot of new jobs, over 5,000 new jobs coming into that area. Beautiful tennis courts, huge rec center. That's another area I would recommend, both great for living in and for investment.
Okay.
So those are 2 that I would definitely recommend. Brentwood is always a great area to invest in as well, but it has become very oversaturated. We've already seen a lot of new buildings sold out. So there's going to be a lot of inventory that's already come and more coming. So it's a little bit oversaturated. Same with Burquitlam. Burquitlam a couple of years back was super hot because it was like a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing a lot of new developments already going up there. So it's a bit oversaturated too. I would say for investors, focus a lot more on that West Coquitlam area or Central Coquitlam, by Coquitlam Center.
Yeah.
Those ones are going to be definitely up and coming.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned about around Coquitlam Center, because you're saying about how these extra towers are there. And if you just even look at a map, there's this huge flat area, like, and people don't go to malls anymore, because you're talking about all the places that you've just mentioned are all where malls were. Malls are dying.
Yeah.
So Lougheed Mall, gonna be towers.
Yeah.
Brentwood used to be a mall, gonna be towers.
Yeah.
So absolutely makes sense that the Coquitlam Center, it's big and flat and has a mall on it. Like,
and
it's going to get knocked down.
100%. There's going to be so much that's going on there. And you're also just 15 minutes away from these gorgeous, huge houses that are around there as well. So for a lot of these families that their kids grew up in Coquitlam and they are used to that area and they love it and they want to be close to their parents, but they can't afford that nice big house right now. Well, parents, invest in pre-sales for these kids of yours who are going to university, because they can live close to you in a beautiful brand new condo that's just 5-10 minutes away from where you live. Yeah. And they can be the owner of a property that's going to be going up in value in a community that you're already familiar with, that's only going to be getting better and better.
Absolutely.
So it's great for locals. It's great for investors. It's something that I would definitely recommend, I would say. Downtown Vancouver, we're seeing the highest price per square foot of anywhere in Greater Vancouver.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a price per square foot that is ridiculously high. A lot of these pre-sales, I don't know if we're going to be seeing people making a profit once they complete for some time to come. Mm-hmm. Great examples of these are like 1515 Alberni project, or Kangakuma's project, or Vancouver House. A lot of these buildings, or the Pacific by Grosvenor, a lot of these buildings people bought in pre-sale and now they're trying to sell it and they're all selling at a loss because all these people bought at such high price per square foot, over $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 price per square foot.
That is a heavy.
It's a heavy load, yeah. And I think if you're going to be buying in downtown, buy a resale in downtown, because downtown pre-sale prices are so high, but the resale that's move-in ready is very low. Yeah. So it's great to be able to buy at $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 price per square foot in downtown Vancouver. If you can afford it, buy that and hold on to that if you can, because 100% downtown is going to start going up in value again. It's just been a while that people, because they couldn't afford downtown, started moving to more affordable areas in the outskirts, like the Coquitlams, like the Burquittlams, like the Langleys, the Surreys. Yeah. So now, because those prices in those areas have started to come up, people are going to start shifting back into the core again, because they're saying, okay, well, if I'm paying anyways $1,200 price per square foot for something in Coquitlam or something in Langley, well, I can also buy $1,200 per square foot in downtown Vancouver. Why not? I'll be in the core. Exactly. So it's only a matter of time before we start seeing downtown Vancouver prices start to go up again. Mm-hmm. So for resale, I would recommend downtown Vancouver, but for pre-sale, very, very much depends. It's very hit or miss. I would say you'd have to really do a price analysis on whatever that tower is.
Yeah, and speaking of like people shifting back and forth, I mean, we've all made it through the COVID plague and all that. When everyone left downtown and prices for downtown, they dropped. There's a lot there.
Significantly, absolutely.
Have you noticed people have come back? Like, did that put the prices back up? Or what have you seen in your experience with...
Definitely.
They come in and go in.
A lot of people did end up coming back, because when people wanted to work from home, because obviously offices were shut down during COVID, people said, okay, well, I need more space, so I'm going to move out to somewhere that's further away. So they moved out to Burnaby, Coquitlam, Surrey, Langley, wherever. So prices of those areas shot up. But then once work from home was done and people's offices were in downtown or on the North Shore or in Falls Creek, they didn't want to be so far away anymore. So then they moved back downtown again. Mm-hmm. And when they moved back to downtown, they wanted to buy something. Because prices were low since everyone was moving out, they could find something for a really reasonably good deal. We're still seeing great deals out there in downtown Vancouver. Like I said, when you can buy things for $1,000 or $1,100 or $1,200 price per square foot in downtown Vancouver, that's a great price point, because we're seeing those prices in North Van, Burnaby, Coquitlam, Langley, Surrey. Yeah. So, like I said, it's bound to only go up. Right now with the interest rates, it's made it tough for a lot of people to be able to buy maybe as much as they had last year. But this time last year, market was super hot. People were buying left, right, and center in all areas. Yeah. So if you can afford it, buy right now and hold, because in a year to 2 years, prices are definitely going to go up again, and you're going to be looking at a good profit.
Yeah, which is people are looking for profits.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, we mentioned about how development seems to happen around malls and stuff. There's Guildford out in Surrey.
Yes.
Again, a mall, but there hasn't been anything going on around there. Do you think it makes sense to buy a resale out there, or just leave that alone? Because Surrey does also have a giant sprawl, so they can keep on going out to Langley.
Definitely.
Right? Do you think it would make sense for a savvy investor to maybe buy a resale, not pre-sale, resale with an R, out near Guildford? Or what do you think about that area?
I think that definitely. I'm seeing more and more pre-sales actually coming into that area. I met with a developer friend of mine just last week. After we saw the Coquitlam project, I went out there and I met with him. They're launching a project this week in Surrey, and right after the sale's out, they're launching another one. Their first one sold out in 3 days. Wow. There are a lot of projects going up in Surrey. There's a lot of transformation happening over there. And they're all selling at $1,200 price per square foot, and they're selling out in 3 to 4 days in Surrey. It's crazy. Yeah. People who love Surrey, they love Surrey. If you can buy a resale out there, yes, resale with an R, then do it, because the price per square foot of those is still a lot lower than what these pre-sales are going for. And these pre-sales are selling like hotcakes. So definitely those resales, once those pre-sales are complete, these resales are going to be of great value for sure, because the area, exactly, because all these other towers are going to bring up the value of the area. Absolutely. So if someone doesn't want to be paying, let's say, $1 million for a 2-bedroom in Surrey, they're like, okay, well, with that same price, I can buy a $600,000 condo that's a 2-bedroom. So buy that $600K condo right now, because once those towers are done, that value of that $600K condo is going to be $750, $800. Because why pay $1 million when you can pay $750 or $800, right? Now, some people may always choose to buy something that's brand new and prettier and newer, sure. But a lot of people who can't afford it, they'll still definitely want to go for that thing that's in that new area, but it's more affordable for them.
Okay. Absolutely. So as far as people going for investors, since you work with a lot of them, what are some of the aspects that they're looking for? If they're looking at 2 properties, property A and property B, what are some of the influences that they have on them? What are they looking for? Is it near schools, or is it near the highway, or SkyTrain, or what are some like good tips for somebody who's trying to evaluate whether that would be a good investment or the other one would be? What's some things to look for?
For investors, I would say being close to transit is extremely important. So close to bus loops, bus stations, close to SkyTrain stations, easy access to the highway. These are all things that are extremely important. If you want to put a tenant, for example, into your home, a lot of times tenants don't want to drive a car, or they don't have a car. So how do they get around? With public transportation. So as a tenant, would I want to rent out something if I don't have a car? Would I want to rent out something that's a 1-minute walk to the SkyTrain, or something that's a 20-minute walk to the SkyTrain? Well, of course, the one that's closer, because it's more convenient for me, more convenient for my lifestyle, easier for me to get to work. Even if I did have a car, do I want to be driving 20, 30 minutes to get to the closest highway or the closest whatever? Or if it's a 5-minute drive, do I prefer that one? So I would say be very cautious and very wary of the area that you're buying in, to have public transportation close by to it. That being said, having different amenities and features is also very important. So for example, like you mentioned, where there are malls, people want to be near at least grocery stores, banks, restaurants, things that having their normal lifestyle, just walking down below their house, being able to walk around to all their essential needs, having that close by is very important to them. If I have to drive, let's say 15, 20 minutes to get to my closest, like, let's say grocery store, that's going to be difficult for me in my lifestyle, so I don't want to do that. Why not rent something that's going to be closer by? Same thing if you're even buying to move into it yourself and you still want to look at it as investment because you want to make money on it. Think for your resale later on in the future. Will an investor come and buy this, or will someone come and buy this from me that is okay being really far away from transportation, or do they prefer something that's close to it? Think about it yourself. If it was yourself living in it, what would be the most convenient? Now, I know a lot of people don't like being right above a SkyTrain, let's say. They're like, well, it's noisy, it's loud, I don't like that. Very understandable. That's why a lot of those pre-sales are priced much lower, though. But I understand that. Buy something, though, that's not right above the SkyTrain. Buy something that's a 5-minute walk away from it, though. So you're still a few blocks away, but it's in close proximity, close enough that tenants would still find your unit and your building attractive.
Yes. And speaking with amenities and that, like we on the rental side, we see a lot of these units and they like don't have a parking stall, or they don't have a storage locker.
It's tough.
It makes it tougher. So you recommend getting both, even though developers
pay extra and get that parking stall and pay extra and get that storage locker, because a lot of these homes, developers are making them smaller and smaller. So when you're looking at a, let's say, 500 square foot 1-bedroom and a couple wants to live in there together, well, where do they put all their stuff? They have extra gear. If they don't have a storage locker, it's going to be tough. They might not rent out your unit, they might rent out in another building or another unit that does have that storage locker for them. Typically, storage lockers go from anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 for purchase when you're buying in pre-sale. Spend that extra money and buy it because it'll help both in your resale later on when you're trying to sell it to someone else, and it'll help to rent out too. Pay to make sure you have a parking as well. If it's, let's say, a studio or a one bedroom that doesn't have parking, but they offer you that option to pay and buy parking too, buy it. It's worth it because even in your resale, if someone sees that your property does not have parking, they may immediately just not even consider it because it does not have parking. People will pay more for you to have parking, and you're going to be looking at a greater profit if you do have parking too.
Absolutely. And now to really put you on the spot.
No worries.
If you have a choice between parking or storage, which one do you think?
Really, I would say really depends. If you are buying a studio, a lot of people who are going to be renting or living in a studio, the mentality is, well, if they're only wanting to pay that much rent for a studio and it's not a one bedroom, then they may not have a car. Okay. So they may be more okay. So maybe they have more stuff. So maybe that storage locker would be more convenient for them. Okay. But anything that's a one bedroom or larger, 100% get the parking.
Over the storage.
Okay. Because at the end of the day, you can rent out additional storage facilities in other places. But that car, like in your resale, it makes a huge difference. I've seen so many buyers not even consider something because of the parking situation, not having parking. Having the storage locker is definitely a bonus. So if you can have it, absolutely get it. But parking is definitely more essential.
Okay. So basically a larger place, parking, smaller place, storage.
Yeah. I mean, even with a smaller place, if you can get the parking, get the parking. But if it's going to be breaking the bank, then definitely I would say get the storage at the very bare minimum.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's trying to get into the market, where do they start? Like, should obviously save up money, but how much should they try to save up? How to save up the money? Because, we talk to a lot of people, the younger generation, and, I'll never be able to afford, and they've just given up.
Yep.
But there obviously is ways to do it. People are still buying things. You and I are both full-time employed, so somebody's buying something.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you give to the younger generation that's trying to just get a foothold in there, just dip the toe in?
I think that pre-sales are genuinely and honestly the best options for people that are trying to get into the market. Like I said, even if you have $100,000 saved, which is a lot of money, even if you have that much saved up, you need to put down minimum 20% to be able to buy something. With today's rates, that's going to be looking at very high monthly payments for you. If you can't afford that, it's very understandable. It's really high with today's rates. But you know what you can do? You can buy a pre-sale. You can buy that $500,000 or $600,000 pre-sale, put 15 to 20% down, and you don't need to put it all down all at once.
Yes.
The beauty of a pre-sale is you only need 5 to 10% of whatever the purchase price is to start today, another 5% usually in 6 months, and another 5% usually in a year's time. So it's spread out in small price increments. Yeah. This gives you time to be able to save up more money, and you have 3 to 5 years for this building to complete, and you're going to have something brand new in 3 to 5 years, and you're going to be a property owner. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Pre-sales give first-time home buyers and investors a great opportunity to be able to actually afford buying themselves a house one day. Because if you buy one and then a second pre-sale, later on down the line, you can sell both for hopefully a good profit. If you're buying, like I said, in that first round, that first 20% round in a good market, if you can sell both of those, you'll have a good, healthy down payment with the additional money you've saved up over these years to be able to afford that bigger place that you're looking for, whether it's a townhome or a house or anything else with a partner.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for stopping by and giving us a little bit of insight there. We really appreciate.
100%.
Now, if anyone's trying to get a hold of you,
absolutely,
how do they find you?
Yeah, well, best way is to either directly give me a call or text message. My number is 604-617-9779. Or another great way to contact me is off my social media on Instagram. Follow me and you'll be able to see all great investment opportunities that I post all the time. My Instagram handle is at Tirajeh M. That's TIRAJEHM. like mother. And feel free to follow me and reach out to me if you have any questions anytime. Send me a message on there. Send me a text, a call. Happy to sit down with anyone anytime.
Great. Yeah, and we'll have that all in the description below in case anyone missed that.
Yes, absolutely.
But
perfect.
Thank you very much for there. And if you've been listening for this entire time, we really appreciate you sticking around. Thank you very much. My name is Haze Hartwig. This is Bamboo, Vancouver's investment and property management podcast.